The word impossible has slowly been losing its meaning over time within Geometry Dash. Just in the last 2 years, more formerly impossible levels have been verified than the entirety of the game's history, and players repeatedly show no signs of stopping anytime soon. The driving factor that inspired me to make this video has been the most recent progress on Angelicide, as you probably have heard. What makes this such a big deal? Well, for starters, barely over 2 years ago, the level quantified as being impossible for the time. Not like the original Seri Never Clear or Unnerved Circupen Circles, which would take years before receiving any notable verification progress, Angelicide has now been completed in 3 runs by a singular person. Granted, the level was rebalanced to be in a semi-impossible or top 1 state, but Angelicide was still perceived to be way above the skill ceiling of today. So with that in mind, I figured rather than making a Future of the Demonless formatted video, I'd rather focus my attention on the overall question, is there even a skill ceiling at all? You could argue that this is just a silly question and a waste of time of a topic, but hear me out for a moment. In the Geometry Dash community, we like to measure difficulty of levels with such sites as the Demon List and Impossible Levels List, with many more variations of such websites. But these are the 2 that we are going to be focusing on today. The Pointer Crate Demon List measures the hardest legitimately beaten and rated extreme demons, while the Impossible Levels List, or ILL, measures the hardest physically possible levels in the game. What does that entail? Well, here are the guidelines. You can pause to read if you'd like, so I don't take up the time, but in short, the ILL houses ridiculously difficult levels that you wouldn't even think of being possible to create in this game. No, I don't mean verify, I mean create. Some of these have the most complex setups and interesting buffing techniques you wouldn't even imagine in your wildest dreams. I'm not even joking. Regardless, we've now established a difference between the 2, but to return to the thought experiment I presented, well, there has to be, right? I mean, it's not rocket science to make the claim that no one is ever verifying Meth Death X, be for real. Although we do know that Exasperation will be verified someday. Yeah, there's a huge gap in between these 2 levels, and so I want to figure out here today where that line is. Where does it become possible and impossible? Now grab a snack, get comfortable, and let's begin. I'm sure many of you have heard of Sorites' paradox, or the paradox of the heap of sand. It asks, in front of you is a heap of sand. If you were to begin removing 1 grain of sand continuously, when does that heap of sand stop being a heap? You understand what a heap of sand is and what it looks like, and you know if you keep removing individual grains, you're eventually going to be left with enough grains of sand that you can confidently say, no, that's not a heap of sand. So the question asks, when does it lose its title of being a heap of sand? It all boils down to how it is perceived by each individual person. To relate this back to Geometry Dash, we can obviously conclude that no, Formosa will never be verified legitimately by any human being ever. However, if we keep removing aspects of difficulty by 1 nerf at a time, or removing 1 grain of sand, it will without a doubt become humanly possible. We just don't know when. Rather than thinking about it in terms of nerfing parts of a level, let's imagine moving our way down the ILL instead. There will be a point where we cross the line of levels being possible. So where is that line? Or is there even a line to begin with? Likewise, the Pointer Crate Demon List shifts around quite a bit when new opinions are added to the mix, and the same will occur with the ILL. Maybe this is possible, but this isn't. Who knows? Only time will tell. But for the sake of this video, we will be assuming that such levels as Fairy Knife Hell and Agony will be possible, as they are perceived as being doable today, but far out of reach of being verified in the very near future. Going off the consensus that a level will end up being humanly possible, rather than just possible in today's age, and as well as the levels listed in this video remain in their current difficulty states today, i.e. no nerfs or buffs, will really open the door for possibilities and make this video overall more interesting and thought-provoking. So, now that we have established the paradox of the heap of sand in relation to the Geometry Dash Impossible Levels list, we can now begin to put our minds together and green needle. So, over on the ILL, there is actually a quick tab that can immediately direct you to the levels that are currently deemed to be the edge of human capabilities. Sweet, less work for us! But we should still make sure that this tab aligns with what we consider to be within human capabilities. Only on page 9 of the ILL is where we will locate the current hardest level verified, Thinking Space 2, getting crowned at a measly 805 as of writing the script. If you haven't picked it up already, that this site does not play around. Above it, you will find such levels as the newest version of Cosmos Unleashed at 764, Unnerved Silent Close-Up at 745, and the Decorated Silent Acropolis at 705. If you ask me, it seems to be a little bit high on this list, but I digress. Those were listed under the category of the current human peak, and in the category right above it, future top 1s, you'll find such levels as Fairy Knife Hell at 660, and Heliopolis just 1 spot above it at 659. I could go on, but I'd rather keep the level listings here brief for now. Now that we have narrowed it down just a tad bit more, let's have a look see what lies above these 2 and gauge what else we know for a fact is possible. Minus World could be a bit up in the air regarding its possibility, but we can all agree that Exasperation is possible at least, right? Zoink's best run on the levels were 67% and 65 to 100, so yeah. I think this qualifies in being labeled as humanly possible. This isn't related to the video at all, but I still feel so weird watching Zoink get this run. Not in a bad way, of course. I mean, this is Exasperation. And if you've been in the community for a good while now, you can relate to me in saying that watching Zoink get so far on the level just feels wrong. It's like something we weren't meant to see, something that wasn't supposed to happen. Maybe I'm just being too symbolic, but let me know if you guys ever felt the same with other impossible levels. And moving on, let's have a look at levels that we know are straight up impossible. So about here is where things get a bit difficult. If we scroll up for a good while, we approach the category called Distant Top 1s. But our interest right now does not land within this region, rather just underneath it. At the very tippy top of the future top 1 section lies the unnerfed versions of Society and Aternus. Whoa. What's going on here, guys? There's looks to be some kind of miscalculation. First, if you're confused why I'm treating this level like he was a serial killer who bragged about killing people, Neomarblin's Society made its debut on October 20th, 2025 and became an instant fan favorite, among which I'm a part of. This level rocks, and you just gotta watch it play out yourself to really understand its meaning and representation. But what you should know right now, though, is that it's never getting verified. Like ever. Oh, you want me to explain that? Give me a second, dog, jeez. Greedy ass. Second, if you're a returning viewer, you already know my thoughts on the age-old question of whether or not Aternus is humanly possible. I made a full video discussing this exact topic, so to cut to the chase, yeah, I do think Aternus is possible. Not anytime soon, of course, but down the road, yeah, why not? So with that in mind, yeah, holy blind dart throw placement, man, jeez. Okay, now to elaborate on what I said earlier. Yes, Society is humanly impossible. This is not my opinion, this is a fact. Now, this seems like a bold claim to make, to which I agree. After all, I did just back myself up and say Aternus will someday be verified. But Society is different. Popular YouTuber slash player VWE, known for their extremely popular frame counter videos, happened to do one of those exact videos with Society. And if you have yet to see this video yourself, let me be the first to tell you, lower your volume. There are so many different jokes and analogies I could try to make to get you to understand how not possible this level is, but I thought of a more interesting way to help you all understand the scales of difficulty we're talking about. Let's just cut straight to the source. VWE, take it away.
Do you want to know why Unnerved Society is so much harder than Aternus? No? Well, it doesn't matter because I have to explain it anyway. If we want to compare two impossible levels, we need to look at what actually makes them impossible. In this case, the impossible clicks. For Society, we have this. For Aternus, we have something like this. As you can see, Aternus wins on the 2-frame department. But what about the 240 FPS frame perfect department? On Aternus, there are only 3 of those clicks. The first one, which is a cube click right at the start, the second one, which is barely 1 frame because of alignment, and then the last one, which is actually just trash gameplay. So basically we have 2, because the second one feels like a 2-frame on CDF. On Society, however, not only are there 15, but you can't even use CDF because this absolute trash abysmal clip that feels like a 1000 FPS frame perfect. If we look at the other 14, we see more peak Neomarblen gameplay. This right here, yes, the white screen that you're looking at, for unknown reasons, is a 240 FPS frame perfect. This microclick is also a frame perfect. The very ending of the level has 2 of them, one right after the other. Now, let's assume that you're the greatest player in the world, a literal robot, and you somehow have a 30% pass rate for each of those clicks. Doing 3 of them in a row, you'd probably do them in 37 attempts. That's not bad. All of them? That would be a 0.000001% chance, aka 1 in 69,677,000. Now imagine the whole level.
So yeah, if you didn't believe us before, hopefully we just change your minds a little bit more. With all that considered, take a guess at what the cherry on top of all of this is. Society actually got moved while I was writing the script. Okay, good, yes, it's above Aternus now, whoop-de-doo and all. But do you want to know what is 3 spots above Society? No, yeah, that makes sense, yeah. Hell, at this point I might as well just say Cosmos Unleashed is above both of these. And even that's literally not even far-fetched for one of these levels. Why is Angelicide being treated like how we saw Silent Clubstep back in 2016? Angelicide is very much within the skill reach of players from now to the next 2 years, not 20. What a kick in the nuts to society's difficulty, dude. That is just sloppy and careless judgment on its placement. Putting all that aside, let's take a little break. I like to really think sometimes, there's just no way. Like, there's just no way this level isn't getting verified. And a good example of that would be Unnerved Silent Club Step. Sure, it may take another year or two, but this level is so getting verified someday. Kind of like Eternus, but on a much broader timescale. And sure enough, in the middle of writing this, No Name got 65% on the Unnerved version. Would you look at that? But these levels, no, they aren't getting verified. But everything we just covered brings up a really good point that ties back to the title of the section, and it's that we really can't draw a finite line on what the cutoff is in human possibility. If stuff like this keeps happening, then we will just never be 100% certain. You know, just like the demon list, everything shifts around based on player opinions, but what makes the ILL placements so unpredictable is the fact that they're impossible. Sometimes they are ranked on player opinion, like a normal extreme demon, while the levels at the very top are ranked by how hard they are to bot, or record a macro for. So ranking all this stuff in the middle of these two essentially becomes a coin flip. All in all, the perceived human limit in Geometry Dash is extremely arbitrary, and we could either hit a wall within the next 5 years, or push past boundaries set today for the foreseeable future. But hey, a good argumentative essay highlights all the possibilities, no? You can't deny that the Geometry Dash skill ceiling has been exponentially increasing and sees no signs of plateauing anytime soon. I mean, just think about all the levels that were considered unbeatable throughout this game's history. Buff Bass, Silent Club, Critical Error, Stereo Demoness, Silent Club Sub, Unnerved Soucoup, and Circles. You get the point. So what does this entail for our community's progress as a whole over time? Well, first off, I'm very much happy to say that CBF poses no more setbacks or future conflicts. Thank you, RobTop. It was pretty funny seeing all my videos that made references to CBF blockers or CBF being added gain traction after all of the comments appeared. But hey, what can I say? I'm good at making predictions. But besides CBF, there have actually been some very impressive progress on impossible levels in both 2025 and 2026 so far. We've already went over Exasperation, Angelicide, and Unnerved Silent Club Step, but another big one has been surprisingly 37% on Fairy Knife Hell. This was due to the GOATs, Hamilton Hammy, putting a bounty on the level, and renowned player Cuatrocientos would be the one to snipe the bounty. Another good one is Silent Club Step 2, being torn limb from limb by Skittle Catastrophe, getting the level in a shocking 3 runs. There are definitely more impressive feats and examples, but these two stick out the most for sure, since they were each perceived to become possible way down the road, but these players have decided to prove otherwise. As for a level like Eternus, it's probably not going to be verified by someone in this quote-unquote generation of players. Hell, there's even a chance they aren't even born yet right now. W Popoff beat Akron at 13, so who's to say another top player years down the road can't beat Grief when they're 13? They would obviously adapt to the current skill ceiling of the game at that time, which would make Eternus for them seem much more doable. That's not far-fetched to say, and just some food for thought. And don't forget that there are going to be dozens of levels that don't even exist yet, that will reign over the top of the demon list. Just think of all the levels I never predicted in my old future demon list videos, because I didn't know what they were yet. Also, there are a lot of lost cause levels. Azure Flare, you will forever be in at least one person's heart. Gone, but mildly forgotten. It's true I love to make predictions in this game, especially in the field of this subject, but even I have my limits. There are levels so far out of left field that could come around and be verified just like that, it's basically impossible to try and keep track of it all. To be honest, if there ever is a definitive level that is the final cutoff to the Geometry Dash skill ceiling, it probably does not exist yet. I know, I'm useless. There is no definitive answer, I'm sorry to say. It could be a 2-player level for all we know, and to that of which I'd love to see. Although, as of today, the answer has yet to reveal itself. But look at it this way, take that first step. Start chipping away at that level that's number 400 on the ILL. Obviously do your research first to make sure you're not playing something with 1-frame ship clicks, but other than that, the possibilities are limitless. Who knows, you could be the verifier of Silent Circles in one way or another. Thank you to our awesome tier 2 members here on YouTube and server boosters in our Discord server. Both links to join are at the very top of the description. Depending on when this video comes out, either I just started to stream my new hardest or I'm about to any day now, so you should turn on notifications so you don't miss the action. I'm playing Midnight, next hardest, be there or be square. And to finish things off, if I had to pick an existing level as the final human limit, the ultimatum, the end all be all, it would have to be this. Alright, thanks for watching, take care.